speaker, and it is Oakley Hill. And just to give you a little idea of what he's going to talk about, it is little wonder why the average American feels unrepresented and voiceless. However, while it is true that the preferences of the poor 90% of Americans have statistically insignificant impact upon public policy, this doesn't mean that democracy has disappeared entirely. Today, even the shyest individual can make an impact. How? With the most democratic system ever created, social media. Be it Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, these online platforms are driven by democracy. Join him as we discuss some of the ways we can make a positive social change through social media.
Thanks. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I don't know. It's too loud. Sign whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay, I think I'm ready. So I'm curious. So how many people, when you're thinking about, because I mean, you could have chosen like a handful of different sessions to go to. I think there's 3 other ones going on. I'm curious, how many of you read the book that you just read, that thing? How many of you read that? Just out of curiosity. Okay. So just so that I know what more to focus on, were you guys interested in the state of democracy in the United States, or were you more interested in the social media aspect and how to enact change? Okay. I was curious because I did throw in that tidbit of the state of democracy in the United States, and I was wondering if anybody wanted me to talk about that. If you end up wanting me to talk about that, I can do that too, but I'll probably just focus. Social change through social community. So I misspelled that on purpose because I thought it was funny. The first thing I want to talk about is actually spell checking your Facebook posts. So let me see if I can find. I was scrolling. So in getting ready for this presentation, I was scrolling through some of my Facebook posts this last year, and I noticed a whole bunch of spelling errors. So yeah, let's see if I can find this right one. So, this was the one that. Oh gosh, that's the wrong one. So it was finals week, and so I tweeted this. It may be finals week, but don't forget the big things. So I felt, and I didn't even notice this. Like when I posted it, this is like yesterday. I think I posted this like several months ago. Yeah, December 9th. So I thought that was like, oh yeah, don't forget the little things. Now that I look back on it, it's really dumb. But it's a really pretty picture. And but I spelled it wrong. Anyways, so lesson number 1, spell check. Okay, so a lot of the time, and you've probably heard all of these same things, I get them all the time, generally from people who don't follow me on Facebook or don't know me. People don't change their ideas by reading the Facebook posts. I've heard that like 1,000 times. No one adds you to hear your political banter. People have told me that. And I hear this from my mom all the time, you're offending people. Which I actually think it's very rare that I offend people. Is that true? Not true? Okay, maybe I do offend people. It's good, yeah, but I think it's done in a kind way. Because I think a lot of people are really rude on Facebook, right? Okay. So, by the way, because we're talking about Facebook and because I took a democratic approach, I'm not gonna give a presentation for like 40 minutes. I know when they emailed me, they said, present for 40 minutes, have a 10-minute Q&A. I think this whole thing should be a Q&A. So, like, any questions, comments? Like, I think you guys probably collectively have more experience than I do. So I think we all have something to contribute. So, your comments are very much welcome. So,
Bang on the wall.
Maybe is there something like how to annoy the room next to you?
They want to compete with us.
We're gonna compete with them by being the quietest room. Yeah, we're gonna tweet about how loud they are.
See if we can affect change topic.
Yeah, see if we can. Okay, so let's first talk about what makes a good post. And I think good is the wrong word. I think I should use successful. So what makes a successful post? Is an example. I'm going to go to my profile picture. Because I actually think this is a very unsuccessful post. Okay, so I think the picture is good. Okay. So I think the picture is good. I posted this picture. I mean, if you look at the picture, it's a really high quality picture. The photographer is really good. This was kind of just spring of home thing. I went over to my friend's house and she had a camera set up. I was like, oh yeah, I really want this picture up. This was like right when a lot of the governors were starting to say they're not going to allow Syrian refugees. And like, for example, Texas did that, a handful of those states. So I posted this at that point. So, and by the way, I was really proud that Utah did not do that. That made me really happy. So good, Utah. Okay, so I actually think this is a very unsuccessful post. And if you look at the comments, I mean, there's 82 likes. I mean, if you had a picture before, there's 135. But I don't think a successful post has anything to do with likes. I think likes are completely, I don't think they mean anything. I think generally by what's successful and what's not successful is interaction. How much interaction you actually get on the post. When you're trying to enact social change, especially like with Facebook, you're talking mostly about ideas. You're talking mostly about what people believe, people's values. So I think the kind of social change you can enact on social media has to do with values. Now, if you look at this, I mean, Eric Osman says I'm sexy. Brendan says he likes it, which he could have just liked it, but I'm glad he likes it. Taylor says cool hair. So I'm glad that like 3 of my guy friends think I look good. But there's no discussion on this post. No. So I would actually consider this a very unsuccessful post. Now, if we compare this to, let's see. Okay, so this was a post right after, now I'm totally positive that everybody's Facebook blew up. After the recent LDS church policy, I'm assuming everyone knows what I'm talking about if you're all on Facebook. Right, like Facebook just blew up after that. So I did make a post, and this is unusual, but I made a very long post. I'm usually like really short. But if you look at this, there's 20 likes. But again, I think likes are totally irrelevant. But if you look at the comments, there's just a stream of comments. And one thing that I think was really successful about this post is all the people commenting were very different. Joe Quillen, staunch conservative. He's about as conservative as a person gets. Okay, for one example, I went to a barbecue with Joe Quillen one time, and in his backyard, so part of the barbecue, everybody brought shotguns, and there was shotgun shooting in his backyard. I mean, he lives on the outskirts of town. He lives in North Dakota. But anyway, she's staunch conservative. And then you have Carol, who doesn't really get this, she's just on the fence about a lot of things. Angie Carroll, who's just like the most open-minded person you'll ever meet. Taylor Bingham, again, another staunch conservative. James Knight, very open-minded, probably very liberal-minded individual. Liz, and, okay, so, yeah, Liz, very liberal. Chris, how would you explain Chris? Like liberal, but I'm not just talking politics.
He would have like a religion, period, and he would probably test.
Right. Yeah, just totally like, so I mean, you have staunch Mormons, you have pansexual ex-Mormons, you have all sorts of people on this quote. David Bingham, you have hard agnostics, atheists, you have staunch Mormon, you have all sorts of people commenting. But then if you look at each individual comment itself, so Liz, her Joe Quillen, Liz has 3 replies. This one too. Angie Carroll's 5. Taylor Bingham's 20. Which is very common with Taylor Bingham's posts. Taylor Bingham's other posts 15. Liz Jarrett's 1. So you have a lot of discussion. You have a lot of people talking and interacting. And a lot of my friends come from very different backgrounds. I lived in the Midwest for a while, so I have like the most conservative people I've ever talked to post. But then I've got friends like Chris who hates religion and not that this has anything to do with being liberal, but is also about as liberal as you can get. So I've got a lot of friends from a lot of different backgrounds. And I think what makes this post so successful is that those kind of people interact with, and they're doing so very respectfully. So they're actually talking, not always respectfully, but I kind of try to police it. So if somebody's being a jerk, as soon as they start name calling generally, I'll message them personally, tell them to knock it off, or tell them to calm down, or apologize for someone else being a jerk. I actually, okay, so that was what I actually messaged Taylor Bingham the other day because people were being really rude to him, even though he's always rude. So anyways, I think that's what makes a successful post. And people can disagree, but I think that is the determining factor. I've had comments with 3 likes, but just comments for days. And when people can interact and talk from their very different backgrounds, I think there's a lot of, what's the right word? Sentimental education. People will actually try to understand each other. Maybe they won't try to understand each other, but we'll talk about that. So, back to this. So, people don't change their ideas by reading a Facebook post. I'm actually interested, because I've got stuff to say about that, but I'm interested in what your thoughts are. Have you guys ever read a Facebook post and actually change your mind on something? Okay, let's go 1, 2.
Oh, yeah, right here. Just a lot of truth that I see in that is that, people just need to know that, oh, wait, you can be respectful, because it's easy to go on social media and look at everything from black and white, right? This person's going to have a dumb post that I disagree with, or it's just going to be something, categorize it. But I think if we can teach our friends with our posts to comment and be like, oh, so I can do it respectfully and share my viewpoints and understand where you're coming from. And I think if we get in the habit, I think that's a very effective way of teaching people and making change. And so hopefully that's very helpful.
Cool. Yeah, no, I agree. I think you can create an environment, or you can create a space where people can actually have a discussion. But I think you're right. I think you actually have to do it, and I think you have to you with that in mind, do this?
I think, yes, to answer your question, I think that it's definitely possible to change people's ideas. I'm a very passionate person, and I believe what I believe, and it's pretty concrete what I believe, and I'm passionate about that. But I've had my viewpoints changed on Facebook many times. I think it really is, like you said, what about your attitude is. And I post a lot on Facebook because I think that's where you can really get people is social media. It's where everyone looks at us, what we're doing all day long, right? I think that some things I posted, I've gotten a lot of people say, you're offending me, or whatever, but I think that maybe someone out there might hear where I'm coming from and want to change their minds on certain issues. But I do think it depends on how you post. If you post it aggressively and in a way that you're showing that you're obviously being biased, then I think it can kind of dictate who's going to respond to that. If you post it in a political way, in a way that you're just trying to be not necessarily passive in sharing your opinion, but in a way that you're not trying to offend anyone, you're just throwing this information out there and accepting what comes. You have to be accepting of people that are going to disagree with you. And if you fight them, then it just kind of negates what you're trying to say. So I don't know, I think there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
Yes, I do think you can change it, I guess.
Cool. No, yeah, I agree. One of the things I've noticed is that, like, the people who agree with you will generally just like the post, when those who disagree with you will comment on it.
That is true.
And that's not always true, but I think that's true a lot of the time. So yeah, which I actually think, if you understand, I think how people work on Facebook, I actually think you can use a lot of this stuff to your advantage. There were some comments over here. Amen. Okay.
So the question of the Facebook post change, I don't know if the Facebook post necessarily changed the opinion. I think most people can go into it with a certain lens, and so if they see something that they disagree with, why not automatically just switch views. However, I think what's important about a lot of the Facebook posts that I've seen is, especially for those people who don't know much about a topic, or if there's a post that's intellectually stimulating or challenging or just very articulate, it can start a dialogue kind of in a person's head, really. People start to rethink their positions, people start to consider other positions, and they open up to their perspective. And I think that sets the ball in motion to where, maybe they change their position, maybe they don't, or maybe they just, work out some bugs. But either way, I think it creates that dialogue that's important for change.
Yeah. By the way, is it EV time?
It is. Yeah.
I'm actually blind to get those. They look really good. Taylor, are you running for, what are you running for, real quick?
Executive Vice President.
Executive Vice President. So I hope you win. I mean, we've talked before. You're back. I hope you win. We met, me and Danny were walking down the hall. She saw your poster. She's like, I'm going to vote. You're like, I'm going to vote for that guy. He seems genuine.
Yeah, but your picture's super great.
Yeah. Okay. So, I think we all have a very similar consensus. I think. Hey, great presentation, by the way.
Hey, no, thank you. Good message for you.
So yeah, I actually think we have a very similar consensus. I think a lot of people, okay, this is what I found. The people that you're commenting with, so the people that will actually comment on your post, I've had discussions with the same people for like 3 years, and they have not budged like 1% on their ideas. But it's the people who aren't liking and are not commenting that generally change their mind. I call those lurkers. I don't know what the actual term for them is. But like, so every time you post, you make a post, anytime anybody comments, that goes back on the wall. So every time somebody comments and say, Taylor Bingham posted on X, or Oakley Hill posted on X. And so they actually see it. So the more comments you get, the more people will actually see your post, will be exposed to it, and will probably want to read it. Because if somebody's on social media, they're not doing much. There's not a lot going on. So I actually think if you're having a discussion, I think that can actually be really entertaining for people. People will actually watch it. I've had, so the people that I've argued argued, I think it's a bad word for it, but the people I've talked to on Facebook who I'm actually like commenting with and we actually disagree on something and we're discussing, a few times they've changed their mind. A handful of times I've changed my mind. I've tried to stay open. And I do that because I'm actually interested in finding the right answers, not in actually like pushing an agenda. I'm actually interested in like, that's kind of why I'm on Facebook. But I've also had about, like it's between, I stopped keeping track, but it's between like 30 and 50 people this year who have actually like walked up to me in the hall. Sometimes I don't even know them. Or have like actually called me or sent me a text or a message on Facebook, or actually just posted on the actual post itself, and actually said that their opinion has changed by watching this discussion between me and somebody else, or between two other people that are commenting. And that like, for me, like 30 to 50 people, I think that's a pretty big change relatively. Because I mean, this is all just on Facebook, but I think a lot of people watch. Like, okay, here's an example of that. This post, I posted it in November. I mean, it got a lot of comments originally. And then let's see, what's it? Angie came and posted on it February 15th, so like last week. So I don't know how she found it. She went back like that was another statement. She went back like 2 months, found this post, and commented on it. And as soon as she did, it blew up again for a second time. And then you had it doubled in comments. So this was like a two series thing. So yeah, so what I found is that the people we're talking to generally won't change their mind. And I think it's because they're more invested than everyone else. But it's the people who are watching your comment feeds who didn't like and who didn't comment. They probably didn't like and didn't comment because they don't actually know what they think about what you're talking about, or they don't know anything about what you're talking about. So they're actually interested in making a decision, and actually they're trying to figure it out. So when you're having a discussion with people on Facebook, know that lots of other people are watching. That's what I found. Sometimes it's hundreds. Like this post specifically, it was like, I was shocked by how many people brought it up to me later on, and even like months later. Okay. So yeah, so actually no, I'll just skip right to strategy. I'm gonna bounce around. I'm not gonna follow this too well. What I call a lurker-based strategy. Okay, if you know that it's lurkers who are going to be changing their opinion, and it's those people, I think what I do is I actually have a lurker-based strategy. I'm not just commenting. For me, I like strategy. I don't know if I hate video games, but I love strategy games. So for me, this is a strategy. And now, a lot of the people that I come up against, I don't see them with any of these. These are really good friends of mine. But Taylor Bingham, me and him disagree about essentially everything. I mean, if you look at his comment, or even his background picture, just a very staunch conservative. I think that's great. He brings a lot of good to his posts. But one of the things Taylor's pretty infamous for, Taylor runs a debate team that's one of the top debate teams in the country. It's a constitutional debate team out of Idaho, and they're like one of the top. He's the guy that trains them. He's their coach. So Taylor's really good at debating. If Taylor was here and me and him were debating, he'd totally cream me. But on Facebook, I think he loses most of the time. And I'm not saying that from like it's not because I don't think my ideas are superior to his. I think it's because of how he goes about his posts. Because on Facebook, it's a very different reaction. In a debate, it's very emotional. So how they say things is very important. You can have a really bad argument and you win a debate. On Facebook, I don't think it's the case. If you're making nothing but emotional appeals and there's no substance to your post, I don't think you're gonna win. I think you actually have to have a good argument, like based on facts, and not make a lot of emotional appeals. So I would actually argue that Facebook is more of an ethics bowl or more of a logic and critical thinking class than it is a debate. Let me see if I can find an example of that. Yeah, you guys are going to see my Facebook. Okay, here's one example. And you can actually, I'm not trying to push any agenda here, I'm just talking about Facebook. So if you totally disagree with any of my positions, totally fine. I'm just going to show you an example of where I think debaters run into trouble and where listeners, I think, really shine on Facebook. Here it is. So, again, if you look at this, Taylor Bingham, 39 replied. So somehow this post, it was originally it was a Gandhi quote. I will die for my cause, but I will not kill for it. Just kind of go. It turned into a discussion about pacifism and whether Christianity is pacifist or not. So there is some debate on that. It's just war theory and pacifism and others. And I'm just going to highlight some of the things Taylor gave as an example of what not to do, because I think it gets into a lot of trouble. To be honest, I think Taylor makes more people agree with me than I ever made agree with. So I love that he comments on the posts. I love the guy. You meet him on the really good friends. We disagree on everything. But anyways, okay. So here's my post. His position was that violence is justified under certain circumstances, and for justification, he gave. If anyone's familiar with Mormonism, I'm assuming we are, because just our geographical location. His position was, well, Nephi cut off a guy's head, and Moroni slaughtered a bunch for liberty's sake. So violence is justified under certain circumstances. My position was that just because a prophet did it doesn't mean it's okay. And for an example, I gave Peter cutting off the ear of a guard, and Jesus rebuking him, saying, "Those who live by the sword die by the sword." So put simply, my position was that Jesus rebuked a prophet for condoning violence. So prophets can do things that are okay, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that, right? I'm not calling into question. I'm not saying the church is untrue by that. I'm just saying, like, a prophet can like Nike shoes, and I don't like Nike shoes. So his position, and then look how you replied. So and now I give an example. So I said the two prophets you noted, Moroni and Nephi, both belonged to a society called the Nephites, who eventually became extinct because of war. So my position was, he justified his position by saying these two people were violent and therefore violence is okay. And my position was, well, yeah, those people were violent, but they also belonged to a society that became extinct because of violence. Those who lived by the sword died by the sword. So it was a pretty direct. And then here was his reply. And actually, he actually had a good argument, but he didn't get to his argument until here, like way down his post. If you look up here, look how he starts. Oakley, you can't pick and choose which scriptures you see as more or less important. Well, that's not really what I did. I didn't say violent scriptures were unimportant. Okay, you can't sit there and blame everything on historicity. I didn't do that. I just gave a historical example. Or the weak argument of that acting in the office of a prophet doesn't mean anything. He did say that it's a weak argument, but he didn't describe, he didn't actually say why it was weak. I'd be more prone to listen to Hinckley since his words are verifiable, but then he didn't really talk about what he meant by verifiable. As you said in the past, there's accuracy with issues in the Bible. I mean, that's a good point. I I would argue with you on that. But, you accept way too much